minutes. However, welcome to the June 7th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. This evening we have a very brief agenda. We have the continuation of a hearing, and we have also scheduled to make a final decision on a closed hearing. And then we do have a couple of items on our open agenda afterwards. And the way we did the agenda this evening is that the board is going to take up the closed hearing first, which is application 6711 for Johnson Homes. We did close that hearing at our last meeting. The board did vote to ask our zoning administrator to draft a positive decision for us. We also had asked for the architectural information to come in, the architectural plans which have come in. We have had the opportunity to review that draft decision. It has also been bounced around to all those folks that were interested and available in the office. And the four members that are here are the four voting members on that decision. So what I'll do is I'll ask the rebutter, our zoning administrator, initially to bring us up to date on any information that we need to, and then we'll just jump right into the decision.
There's no new information.
Okay, great.
Outside of the plans that they submitted, the revised plans.
Right.
That does have landscaping on it.
Mm-hmm.
It does have the architectural, which you requested. The plan shows the sidewalk, the stop sign, everything that was discussed at the previous hearing. The draft decision, I did make a couple minor changes that haven't gone out to the board. It's conditions 6 and 7 after a conversation I had with one of the attorneys. I agreed with a language change in number 6. And of course, it's still up to the board.
Right.
And then I've had a discussion with a couple of the members, and you will go through their comments now.
And what we'll do, I think, just to make it expedient and valuable for those of you that did bother to come, is we'll just go through page by page, see if there's any information that needs to be changed from the draft that we have. Yeah, well, I'll just quickly go through. Any comments on page 1, 2, 3?
Don't go too fast. I'm okay with 3.
Okay, sounds good. 4. Is it 5?
Yeah.
6. It's all sort of the background information. So, and by the way, just a quick comment on how valuable it is for Suri, the work that you do for this board, and it's definitely reflected in this draft decision. So thank you for not only working with the applicants, but listening to us as we go through the multitude of hearings, and it's reflected in this, so I appreciate it. 8, 9.
Yeah.
Oh, 8.
So there was one issue, and I'm not quite sure, that didn't make its way from the minutes into the background,
Okay.
which really summarizes the minutes. And that was that during the hearings, I think on February 2nd, I asked how the flows from the commercial use compared to the residential use, and they said they would give us an answer, and the answer came on February 10th.
Right.
And the answer was that...
You mean May 10th?
The May 10th,
Yep.
Right, whenever the
Right,
next meeting
right.
was. Right. And so and in looking back over the minutes, I think that the residential use, they said would generate septic flows of about 2,600 gallons per day. The 8,000 square foot commercial or professional use, they felt could generate as much as 7,000 gallons per day. Why is that important? It goes to the finding of how this benefits the public good.
I think it is important, and I think we can easily put that in.
So-
I think it should go on page 10 of the opening of the May 10th hearing, where Attorney Nickerson stated that it will be decreased to 2,600. Is that where you were talking about, Ken, or is it?
You know, it could, yeah, it certainly needs to go, I think, on May 10, because I don't think they gave us the answer till May 10.
Right.
So but it's in reference to a question that I raised on February 2.
So, if that's okay, I can put that on page 10.
Sure.
Is that going to say decreased from what to what? Correct?
No,
It's
it's
going
a
to,
comparable flow.
So it's just decreased to 2,600.
comparison of flow, and their argument was that the flow would be less with a residential use
Right.
than with
With the 8,000 square foot building, they said it would be 7,800 gallons per day.
Could be
flow.
as much.
A restaurant would be 7,000. So, and that was the comparison they give, and I did not put that in here, which I should have.
I was just questioning the wording, not the
Yeah.
calculation.
So if we could, you know how we usually put a follow-up, things that we were asking for information to be followed up on? The February meeting, one of the pieces of information that we asked for them to follow up on was the comparison. And then on May 10th, we'll put the actual information in.
Because I think that will strengthen the argument when we get to findings, and we can say,
No, I think
we
that's a
found
very
the public
valuable
that was
point.
served because.
Okay, but I didn't see that in the minutes, but I do know,
I
I
do
don't know
re-
if you reviewed that on February 2nd. I didn't see that. I've got down the issues. You want me to add that?
Yeah, because I recall that as well.
I know it was discussed.
Yeah.
So I
Sorry.
apologize.
That's all right, it may not be in the minutes, but I think it's,
And I put, yeah, you summarize items to be addressed, which include legal precedents, hydrology, updated plan, emergency access, parking access, and drainage,
right, and just put in there,
including,
comparison flows for residential and commercial use.
Septic flows, I was.
Right, right, thank you. Good catch, thank you. Okay, so that was 9.
that was page 9, and I'll put it in your summarization item,
Right.
which is the 4th paragraph from the bottom.
Perfect. And then in 10, we'll put in the actual comparison information that was provided to us. Okay, 11?
No, I have nothing on 11.
12? 13? 14? 15? 16? 17? 18? 19?
Okay. 20, I have.
20, okay.
I did have some wording suggestions for the third paragraph.
The board finds that 24051?
Yeah.
Yep.
On page 20?
Yep.
Yeah, is silent as to what defines a unit, although the subject is multifamily dwellings, the bylaw does not, and it says require, but that just goes in one direction, doesn't require that the board take into effect commercial conditions. It also doesn't say we can't.
Right.
And so I thought we ought to reword it to say require or prohibit the board from considering the effect of commercial accommodations or adjusting proper calculations as to the permissible number of residential units.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
I think that is probably more appropriate because it just simply didn't instruct us at all.
Right.
In adjusting.
I mean, in fact, in the end, we kind of thought about how much commercial development there was.
All right, does not require or prohibit the board to consider.
From considering, is how I wrote it.
The effect.
Right.
Effect,
It's probably of.
Yeah, and probably should be of existing commercial conditions.
Or,
conditions, or in adjusting proper calculations,
sure,
is that,
or adjusting,
Take out the word proper, I think adjusting calculations.
yeah. Yeah, right.
or adjusting calculations?
As to the permissible number of residential units. The rest is fine.
Yep.
Then the other question is whether we ought to have a finding at this point. The board finds the public good will be served because,
Well, based on the test, the board finds based on the testimony of the applicant. The board finds, I'm not sure about that wording.
because sewage, well, if you don't want to say based on the testimony of the applicant, you don't have to. I mean, I guess it's implicit.
Want to run through what
The board finds the public good will be served because sewage flows from the proposed residential use will be less than those from professional, office, or commercial use.
I think that's the proper way to say it.
And actually, I had by right, professional, office, or commercial use.
You have by right?
I put by right in just
Office?
to
Oh,
make.
by right, okay.
No, I think that's a valuable finding.
Commercial use. Okay, so I'll work that into the paragraph after the one we just worked on.
As a finding, right.
No, I think that's a very valuable one.
Actually, I think I'll make that, should it go there, or should it go, I think we briefly discussed that,
But somewhere in the findings.
242.16.
I think it's 240-51 that says it's got to be for the public good.
All right, I either will make that a finding on its own or put it into
Right.
that paragraph. Is that okay?
Perfect. 21?
Well, the only issue that's raised here is and this goes to our conditions. I personally feel we ought to mandate one unit as affordable under the DHCD criteria. Again, it strengthens the case for the public good. It's an argument that the applicant has made that, in fact, the units will be affordable, but there's no guarantees unless we put something in the decision to require it. And it's one unit out of 10 that we would be asking them. And, you know, the other thing that comes to my mind is the rents could be affordable, but that doesn't mean, unless you mandate affordability, that the people renting them meet the criteria for affordability. So they could be wealthy people getting a great deal. So we're not serving the public good if that's the case. Whereas if we require that at least one of the renters meet that criteria, that their income is 80% of this median, then we know at least one of those people actually does need affordable housing.
Dennis?
I think the time to have brought that up has probably passed. I think that's probably something that should have come up.
Well, I brought it up 4 times in the hearings.
About making one, I don't recall.
I
mentioned it.
repeatedly mentioned, are there going to be any requirements for affordability?
And
Are there going to be any guarantees?
And they repeatedly said no. They wouldn't.
Right, but that
That would have
we
been
are
the time
now-
for you to say, hey, guys, let's think about this, to give them a chance to
Yeah, I
really
agree with Dennis.
to argue that point. And I don't see that, you look at the plans for these units, you're not getting the 1%ers renting these things. They're just not going to take these places.
Certainly, they're not going to be the 1%ers.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But the 1%ers are buying waterfront.
Hopefully for me. Yeah.
Right. But the question I have is we're still not necessarily serving the bottom 10%ers, or whatever percent you want to call it.
That's not necessarily what they set out to achieve, though. You know, they're
Well,
trying
they
to
made
make
a
a
very
modest,
strong case that this
a
was going to
modestly
be.
rented, a modestly priced apartment complex.
Yeah, and I'm not asking him to make 25% of the units affordable or
Sure,
anything like
and
that.
nor did they ask for that, or the hearing probably would have been a lot shorter, you know, quite frankly, if they came in as a 40B or something. But, you know, I think they are serving the public good because they're hitting a niche market here that doesn't normally get recognition.
Let's try to break down to a couple of elements, because I can see both parts of it. My recollection was there were certain statements made about market affordable, and I remember my saying there is no definition in our bylaw for market affordable. So that was one point that was brought up. The discussion was that, well, of course they would be of an affordable nature because look at the design. However, the last design really changed, and they're larger units now than they had been, so that's on that side of it.
Yep.
The public good, I remember also making a comment, it's funny how you can remember your own comments, saying that public good is not defined solely in the affordability of the units, and so here, it would be affordable units would be public benefit, but we also made a finding, which I think was a very valuable finding, that there was also public good coming out of this by limiting the amount of sewage that would be coming out of this project. So we've got public good covered in a number of ways. We actually have information in what we have in a finding in G that says the applicant, the board is confident, and again, it was based on the testimony, that the applicant will maintain the unit's rental rates. And, you know, we focused on rental rates. I hadn't thought of, to be very honest with you, the individuals who might need that. Now, when I look at the affordability, there are 3 different types of affordability in our bylaws, if I'm right, and I may not be. One is 40B. This clearly isn't 40B. We take that out. One is a 40A kind of requirement, and I think of it as the commercial units. Locust Street was the perfect example of that, where there's you had multifamily, you had to have an affordable, and does it say in the bylaw?
Conversion.
Right.
That's a conversion.
Does it say in the bylaw to meet the requirements of DHCD in that bylaw? No. And our accessory.
But if you look at
Accessory apartments.
242-16J, it mandates it, but it hasn't been done.
Right. And when we look at accessory apartments, we say either family or affordable in perpetuity. And the only requirement we have there is a deed restriction and annual reporting to the board in terms of how it's maintained.
Right.
So that's sort of all of the pieces broken out. Is it a burden? I know the hearing's closed, but you had a conversation, I think, beforehand with the
I gave him a heads up about
the
this.
applicant. Yeah. Any light you can shed on that for us?
Do you mind asking the applicant? I realize the hearing's closed, but you can.
I don't mind, if the board doesn't mind. The
I'd
hearing's
like
closed,
to-
we're
I'd
not
like-
going to take any new testimony.
I just think it's important in
But I think I hear what both of you are doing.
Right.
It's something we generally
Well, let me-
discussed, we didn't go that further into it. This
Yeah.
is, we're making the decision now as if we had taken it under advisement, and we can put conditions in as long as they're based on something that was discussed. So we did discuss affordability, we didn't discuss it being an affordable unit
You know,
per
to me,
se.
it's a bit of a dilemma. When you bring something up multiple times to the applicant and hint it, you're feeling strongly that they should provide a little more guarantee, but you haven't yet made the decision. You're not really in a position to say, look, make one affordable. That comes at the, I mean,
But that never was said.
No, it wasn't. That's why
And
it-
it's
yeah.
kind of unfair to the
I
applicant.
think you might
Excuse me,
wanna-
I'm sorry.
The board might want to review the minutes. They did state that they were doing an affordable project that is necessary in the town of Falmouth.
yes, that was one of the justifications.
That was one, and that's when they did ask. But
And I
they
specifically.
gave no answer as to.
Yeah.
if it is.
I mean, I think you're all right, to be honest with you. We do have the right to put in conditions based on what we heard. What's awkward about this is the timing is a little bit different. Typically, we do it right then and there, but...
Okay, member Foreman commented that, I'm sorry.
Let's cut.
I just, this is more of a clarification. I mean, on numerous occasions after the hearing's been closed, I've seen people come up with pertinent information that could help, and we've told them as a board, the hearing's closed. It seems to me personally that the horse is already out of the barn.
No, but-
This should have been taken care of prior to us closing this meeting, correct?
It was. Member.
Pardon me?
I agree with that. Yeah.
Here, let me, can I read
The decision has not
the,
been made by the board.
Right.
right.
And you asked me to write an affirmative draft that the board would review.
I mean, to be
And this
really
is what's coming out of it.
really dramatic about it, we could turn around and say 8 units tonight.
I mean, we could.
Yeah,
But,
not that we would entertain that.
Will they have an
This-
opportunity to address Ken's concerns, is what my question is. I mean, we can sit here and change the rules of what the applicant thought was going to be a favorable decision.
a favorable decision, but not necessarily the conditions all spelled out, right? So can I just, I want to clarify that I specifically asked.
It's also not changing the rules, Scott, because if you look at what our procedural rules are, we could actually take something under advisement. This board has not done that in the past 4 years. But we could take it under advisement, think about it, and make our decisions. And it may not be everything the applicant wants. I think what Sari was suggesting, and I'll try to do this in order, is that she did have a conversation with the applicant. The applicant may be able to satisfy some of the concerns in terms of that, but before I ask that, why don't we let Ken go ahead?
Well, I just want to make the case that this was not a surprise. I specifically asked, and it says on page 8, Member Foreman commented, it was mentioned earlier that the rents would be moderately priced. Is Johnson Homes willing to consider some range or specified limits? Attorney Nickerson said he doesn't believe they anticipated doing any restrictive covenant on rental rates. Now, at that point, I'm not sure what my options are during the discussion. I've made clear my preference, and they've made clear theirs, and then it comes to us in the decision to say, okay, are we going to accept that or not?
All right, then I guess my question is, when we told them we had a problem with density, go back and refigure that, and they came back and they reduced the size of the units, and what's the difference? Why couldn't we do that during discussion and tell them today we want 8 units?
No.
I'm trying to figure out how we get to a point where...
Well, and I'll try to help you out. We never told the applicant how many units they should come in with.
We strenuously...
We were concerned when it was 12.
About the density.
Okay? We never dictate to an applicant what they should or should not do. When we often have our discussions, we close a hearing, we come to action. During the course of action, we have a motion, it'll be with conditions, it's seconded, we go into discussion. And at the time, doesn't happen that often, but there are times that we disagree on conditions. And they may not be exactly what the applicant wants. But this is the time that we have the chance to discuss the final decision. So my own opinion is at this point that it's appropriate for this board, if it wants to condition a unit as affordable. It may not be what the applicant wants, it may not be what this board wants,
Right.
but it's appropriate to put on the table making one of them affordable. It's just that it's happened 2 weeks after we last discussed it. That's the only difference. Sorry.
The opening statement by Attorney Jeffries said on February 2nd, the concept is to try to build residential rental units at market affordable rates.
Right.
And-
Now, we talked about the definition of market affordable.
There is none.
There is none.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a very hollow promise unless we put some teeth into it somehow by asking for at least 1 unit.
Who dictates how much that rent is if there's no
Nobody.
table?
Well, no,
Exactly my
Page
point.
That's not-
3, it said according to
Yeah.
I mean, there's two issues, as was pointed out. One, one is what's the rent, but the other is who's renting it? Do they need affordable housing? We're not really meeting the public need for affordable housing unless we guarantee that their income is such that they
So if we have some
actually need it.
criteria that tells us what that is,
Yeah.
and a range,
Yeah.
what's to keep an applicant from bumping the rent up on all the rest of them and leaving one down? I mean,
Well, the reason I said that is
Just keep them
the
doing it
examples.
exactly, well, unless there's something that you can look at and put your hand on and say, this is affordable and this isn't, how can you impose an affordable?
Well, that's.
I also wonder about the burden this would put on the applicant.
It's up to the applicant to maintain that, and according to the things as I discussed with Jeff Nickerson, it's very similar to an accessory apartment where you have to notify this board on a yearly basis that that is being rented as an affordable unit according to 80% of the median area income, and that's, you can find that on DHCD's.
Right. Also,
That's
remember.
what it is. It's not going to count in the housing inventory.
No, but also remember that this is 10 units of rentals. So there is a management operation going on. So I don't see it as being overwhelmingly burdensome because there is management of this development going on. And to say, okay, one of them, here are the criteria, et cetera. I'm not sure, I mean, again, it's weighing to that public good. When we look at this decision, it is, 251 says to us, look at the public good when we're talking about B3 multi-housing. And, again, I see that we've covered public good already to the reduction of the sewerage compared to what it could be, and I appreciate that finding that you put in. We also did discuss affordable housing.
But we never really got an answer, and we never pushed for an answer, so.
Here's the time we make the decision, though.
I think we got.
I think you went into the public good during the meeting when Dennis was talking about, the size of the units, how much they're gonna be rented for. The window was only so big.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Dennis talking 5-7 minutes about it, so I think the public good's already been addressed. I personally hope you guys don't
I just think
put a
there's
affordable on it.
There's no guarantee of affordability at all.
Just on that, it's you guys are part of it. It's all of us,
I
because
know.
you're a voting member on this, and it takes a unanimous vote to approve this decision.
Of the 4 members.
That's right.
Who's not?
Us four.
David is
Oh,
not
David
on
is not,
this
no,
hearing.
thank you.
Yeah.
So it is you
It's
guys.
just you, and that is the quorum,
Thank
so
you.
you need a unanimous.
That's why he
vote.
said he hopes.
Yeah.
Right, and you guys.
I mean, I feel pretty strongly, I think first of all, our job isn't to make, it's not to make the applicant unhappy, but it's not to make the applicant happy, it's to enforce the bylaws and to serve the public. in
Yeah,
the
no, I
best
agree
way.
with you.
And we heard the applicant's view, that was their opportunity to say, oh, sure, we'll make one of them affordable or 2 of them, but they didn't say it. And then it comes down to us to say, okay, well, are we going to accept that? Or do we feel strongly enough that it's important that we should impose a condition? I don't see that during the hearing process, we say, you must make it affordable. First of all, we haven't had the discussion, and we don't have the consensus.
Right. I mean, again, to give you examples, we could, based on the testimony and information that was presented, and I'm not recommending this as either, turn around and say a denitrification system is appropriate. We have the right to do that right now, even though we didn't say, how do you feel about a denitrification system? We could feel that if Megantic Harbor was, for whatever, and somebody might, appeal the decision because we didn't base it on anything, but this is the
We
place
can
where
discuss
we
it, yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
I mean.
But this we did,
If
there
this had
is.
never been brought up, I would have said, nah, you can't even come close to it. But we have discussed affordability. I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest with you, because I hadn't thought about it before, but I think we're getting stuck on the fact that we can't do it because it can't be brought up now because it wasn't something that we told them that we would do. Well, you don't know what you're going to do until you do it.
I guess you're right. I didn't mean we can't do it.
Did you get that?
I don't feel comfortable doing it after
I understand.
the meeting was
See,
closed.
I just think it's wrong for us to feel we have to get the applicant's prior to the closure of the hearing to impose conditions.
Well, when you figure, Ken, that all the money that's going to be expended by these companies doing that, that all figures in to their bottom line. This is a business venture for them,
It does.
too.
But they argued repeatedly that this was going to be affordable housing.
Correct that. Market affordable was the term
Market
they
affordable.
always used. They never once used the term affordable.
And we asked them to define it and so forth, and we didn't get a clear definition. But, and again, it's 10% of the units we're talking about, one unit. So,
10% can be the difference of
Of their
successful
profit
business
margin.
or a non-successful business. I mean,
well, I mean, I'm amenable to hearing what the applicant has to say.
Okay, we're not going to take new testimony. Really, the only question is, it's been raised. If you don't have an objection to it, it might make the board's decision easier. If you have an objection to it, then it's just back to us, okay? So, no new testimony. If the board's okay with this, Jeff?
I've discussed it with Dave. I don't think that there's a problem conceptually as to the rental rate that would be charged monthly, being at about 80% of area median. I guess the only concern that the applicant would have is
Nothing to do with the 80%. It's the rate of the bond. What I don't want to be forced into renting to somebody that's not qualified or have the unit vacant for long. It's not the amount of money. I think the rate for 2 bedrooms is like $1,200, so that's fine. It's just that I don't know if I'm going to be waiting 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 2 months until I get a tenant that's qualified that meets the criteria.
Okay.
And that's what you want to know.
Again, so, not taking new testimony, the objection isn't to the rent, which quite frankly is in there. The 80% on the rent is already in on page 21G. The issue is,
Where the board has,
says it's only for an income eligible person, could leave,
I'm sorry,
That's
which
the-
one is that, page 21?
page 21G, it says, the board is confident that the applicant will maintain the unit rental rates as such that they will be available for rental to individuals earning 80% of the median income as possible for rental units. All right, so it's not in there. So what they're not objecting to is the affordable rate. I'm not even sure how you determine that,
So-
Sari.
I'm sorry?
I'm not sure how you determine that, because we typically don't,
Determine what?
the affordable rent.
He does. By application of a person, it's based on income.
Right, so it's a proportion of their
So it's
income.
80% of the area median income, and the rent could be no more than 30% of what the 80% of the
It's
median income
1/3.
is.
Right.
It's a formula.
Right.
If on an application that states what your annual income, they're held not to lie about it, the people applying that.
So they're really, again, so there's real
So
clarification.
what we've learned, if I understand correctly, we've learned that the issue isn't whether this is going to break the bank in terms of the rental income. The concern is that they might not be able to fill that unit if they can't find someone that qualifies. There are 10 units there. It's going to take some time to fill them all, no matter what, right? How would the board feel if we gave them 1 year to find someone that qualified, and if not, then
The difference I see, and again, let me just disengage from the applicant. What the applicant's objection to, and I think you're right, is not the amount of rent that might be charged, but the qualification and the fact that there could be vacancy. Trouble is that this is potentially a transient development. That it's not like somebody comes in and rents like they might buy a condominium and stay for the next 20 years. They could come in for a year and be gone. And if it takes 3 months to find a qualifying person for year one, that person leaves, and then they have another qualifying.
But there's
My
been-
gut
there's
tell you,
this argument, though, has been that there's this huge need for this kind of housing by people who can't afford, who would qualify. So So if there's this huge need, it really shouldn't be a challenge, I can.
And yet, at the same time, I think we've seen recently in one of our own 40B developments, that's the problem finding a qualifying person for somebody who's aged 62.
Yeah, well, once you start adding in the age limitation
Yeah.
on top of everything else, it gets hard.
I'll just give you my reaction, because I told you I wasn't decided. I want to get past the hurdle of everyone thinking that we can't talk about it. I think it's a very valid point. I think we have the right to do the condition. I'm not in favor of it, listening to all of this, because I do think there are only 10 units. If it was still 16 units, I'd say, 1 unit, yeah, okay, maybe we could deal with that. But we've squashed this down to 10 units, and I think it's beyond, I think, the way this finding was, that we're confident that they will make it available.
We're confident, but wait.
What I'd suggest maybe changing is to say, we'll maintain the unit's rental rates so that they will be available, not just confident.
That would be a little better.
So we don't have to
Yeah.
qualify somebody, but it's a message saying your rental rates have to be such that somebody could qualify for it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Matt,
That would
Yeah.
probably put me,
On G,
so the board, the last
instead of
sentence
the,
in G,
right,
Just
instead of
remove the
saying
board
is
is
confident, the board finds that the applicant will maintain the unit's rental
well, can we
rates.
then make that a condition?
Are you talking about all units now?
no, because that would limit all units, Ken. to
Yeah,
be
I'm
that
not
way.
comfortable with
So
that.
could it be a condition
Finding
that
that
at
the
least,
applicant
affordable.
is motivated to do that, but if you make a condition, it would limit all 10 of them.
well, we could make a condition that at least one unit
That's what your
be.
discussion, I am so.
Okay, with that, I could potentially be okay with.
So the issue isn't the rate of
Without having to
rental.
qualify.
Without having to qualify, yeah, because I don't want to restrict their ability to, to get these units filled. The point you made on transient is very relevant. We work with, like clipper ship properties, there's a lot more units there. Same thing, we see the same units, every year coming back available. It's just the way the market works, is that people aren't there for a long time. These are very, very similar units. I do think that had we had this discussion earlier, the applicant might have had the opportunity to say, I can't go down to 10 units then, if we're going to make one of them affordable. Maybe I will stick with the 12 and roll the dice and see how you guys feel about that.
But Dennis, borrowing on your expertise, and I have absolutely none in this area, probably none at all, but if I were saying that an affordable rental rate per month was $1,600 for somebody that could qualify, and I advertise one for $1,600, and somebody grabs it, it doesn't mean that you're getting somebody that needs it.
Oh, that's right.
So
That is.
I go back and I say, well, let's not put the condition in. They've said that it'll be market affordable. And, we've got somebody that works in town, lives in town, does a lot of work in town. We got to have some reliance on what they've said. So, I applaud you for bringing it. I think it's appropriate to have been brought here. I think it's appropriate for the board to make that condition if it felt it was the way to go. I just don't think it works.
I don't either.
So, for clarification, are we changing that, just that finding?
No, I don't think so.
You're going to leave it at the board is confident that the applicant will maintain?
Yeah.
Well, hasn't they said they would?
Right.
So why do we need to, I think I think we should say the applicant will.
No, I don't think they
that's what
ever
they said.
said. Oh, I'm sorry, it is, you're right, Sari, it does have to, that last sentence, I'm not sure belongs there at all.
I thought it was rather good, thank you.
I already gave you enough compliments to begin with.
I'm not fishing for him, I just think that kind of sums up the whole thing, if you, because it's not mentioned up in the first part of it. So I think you should keep it, if you want to change it to the board finds that the applicant
But Sari, if,
will endeavor to maintain the unit.
but
It's so
here's,
namby-pamby, you might as well take it out.
but I'm still not happy with it because
Okay.
they said market affordable. This is the definition of affordable.
Then read all of G to see if it's even appropriate, because G is one of the 240-216. So you've got to make a finding that substantiates that.
That's why I think we should
And that's
just,
why I summarized it
I
that
think
way,
we
so.
should say 9 units is market rate affordable and
I think it looks fine
1
as it is.
affordable. Because
The board is confident that the applicant will maintain the units.
But, is that setting up an expectation that we have of the applicant that is unfair? It can't be met. Because,
Well, I actually don't-
And if you were sure
so
what
there's
they
the
would,
Never to
affordable
rent the
rental
units.
rate?
Yeah, actually, that whole sentence really sticking out now. I'm not confident that they will do that.
No, I'm not
I
either.
know, because they never said that they would.
They said a
It's
market
a market
affordable.
affordable. That doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be to an
Then
individual
change the
earning
verbiage.
80% of the area median income.
Change the verbiage, keep the line there that substantiates G under 240-216, and that was my effort in trying to do it, because they did say they were going to try to
Everything you guys are
make it market affordable.
saying is convincing me more than ever that 1 unit should be mandated to be affordable under the criteria. That gives them 9 units to do what they want with. But it does guarantee that at least 1 really will be.
I disagree.
What
And
216
the attorneys have reviewed that.
Right.
You want to just say, well, endeavor to maintain market affordable rates?
Yeah, because,
As testimony
216,
was.
all 216G says to us is to look at the effect of the proposed project on the adequacy of the supply of affordable housing. In reality, this has no impact on it, because affordable housing, this is not. It's what and they never said that to us. They said.
I know, I base this on market affordable and what their intent is trying to do without making the development affordable. Change it, but I need a finding that substantiates that. If you want to just say it doesn't have any impact, that's fine by me.
I tell you what, let's pause for a second on this. Let's move on, let's look at the conditions, and we'll come back to this one, because we need the finding to match the condition. I want to look ahead to the condition and see if there's anything that requires that finding there. Okay. So, let's pause on 21 for a second. Anything on 22? Okay. All right, so, let's go through the conditions, and then we'll come back. Condition 1 was the 10 dwelling units, 5 structures, everything based on the plans that were submitted. Okay. The crosswalk, all of the things we talked about the last hearing, the stop sign, et cetera, in contact with the engineering department for the use of that. The stop sign, yes. Location. This gets to what I was saying earlier about having a property management company, that they just provide us that name and contact information before the occupancy certificate. Landscaping, we do have a plan, and the completion, of course, would be before the CO. On 6, let me just read it, because there's a word that needs to come out, and there was...
Excuse me, we also need to put one in on your guys. Any change of use from professional, comma, medical or dental offices, if you would just add that,
Yep.
the word professional.
And then it goes on to say / clinics or pharmacy use within the commercial buildings on the property or expansion of the commercial buildings on the property shall require, take out the word review, shall require approval by the Board of Appeals. We always review everything as we go through the approval. It's not a different process. And then the final sentence is, further, there should be no more than 5 commercial units on subject property herein described as Lot 8 and Lot 9. So that was the point that we were making about, that's how we get to the 15 units overall. Okay. The A&R with the Registry of Deeds, no deviation as usual. DPW, the permit within 20 days, 2 years. So there's no...
And another person brought up, do you want to condition no seasonal rentals?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I am
You know,
too.
testimony has been market affordable, which is
usually.
I know we don't have a set definition, but to me, that is a year-round rental.
Then they're not that transient.
I say transient as being a year rental. If I give you a lease for a year, and it takes me 3 months to find the next person,
Right.
I'm only getting 7
But
months.
if I
worth
need
of
affordable
rent.
housing, and I've got my lease for a year, and I finally get in there and I've got it,
Right.
I'm not likely to move very soon.
You don't know that.
Right.
I'm not saying it's 100% guaranteed, but, you know, once you've got your spot where you have your affordable rent, and, you know, where are you gonna go? Unless something forces you to, you know, you lose your job, or, you know, you gotta go somewhere, you gotta leave. And we're not talking about Section 8 housing here, you know, it's not, it's,
Look, we're about to get right back to that.
Well,
The seasonal rental thing, you wouldn't want that anyway.
it's funny.
Even if you had an affordable unit, you wouldn't want seasonal.
Well, no, because then you wouldn't have an affordable unit, because
Well-
anyone who's gonna rent it in the summer is gonna jack up the
Affordable
price.
for 9
Yeah,
months.
so putting that in isn't really harming the applicant.
No, what it makes me
Or
think
the
is
project.
that it is.
Tightens up the bylaw. Or tightens
Right,
up
no,
our decision.
if you guys are for no seasonal renting and the applicant doesn't care, I'm all good with that.
I think the way the project was described to us was not for seasonal. And I think that's a good.
But that
I
just
think that's a
makes
good protection.
makes me think that then it's not out of the question that
Or make the
a single
neighbors
affordable unit would be
happy as
okay.
well.
That's exactly right.
Can we agree on the seasonal, no seasonal rentals?
Yes.
And put that in as a
Yes.
condition? Okay. Now let's go back to the last issue that we're facing.
I think we even talked about that not being seasonal, not being seasonal rentals.
I don't recall it, but I think it's a good one, and I think it's one of
We're
those.
talking about traffic flows and
Yeah.
summer rentals and all that.
Usually on things like this, the board does make a condition that there will not be any seasonal rentals.
Right. Okay. Sir, you had one more?
Yeah, under the beginning of the findings, there is not a finding that it substantiates the public good, so we do need to put that in the correction.
Yeah. Well, again,
You read 24051, and I
Right.
believe even the changes that we made isn't a general enough finding for substantiating public good. So do you want me to do that, or do you want to do it?
No, I think you can do that. I think
Well,
that's
that's-
certainly, but now let's get back to the heart of the remaining issue. And it is,
I feel very strongly, the more I think about it, that we should have a condition that one unit have someone who meets the criteria for affordable housing. I just, I think that in order, you know, the septic flow calculation, you know, that was not checked either. No one, you know, that was their argument about how much septic flow you get.
no, that's accurate. The SRE knows that calculation, and we also had bounced it off of David Carrigan.
But-
You know, so, and
It's
it-
110 per bedroom, there's 20 bedrooms, so.
Oh, I know that the amount of flow coming
It was
from the
good.
houses is, from the residential use is accurate. I'm just not convinced that,
Oh, of the 7,800.
that doctor's
8,000.
offices produce that much
Oh, I see what
flow,
you're saying.
unless you miss. Suri and I were discussing that. But anyway,
Yeah, let's not go into that one.
but again, we got the information from a registered.
yes, we did. So we put it in the findings of legit.
Right.
But to be strong enough to,
But again, if you look at it, it's, when I did the comparison of all of those decisions that the board had made in the past, one of the issues of public good was taking the less intensive residential use and substituting it for the more intensive commercial use. And I think that's something that we accept as a given, whether it's exactly the sewage flow, traffic, or whatever else. There's certainly a concept that this board has discussed over all of those years. I think I went back to, what, 84 or 89, I forget, that residential is less intense, okay?
I've heard just the opposite argument made on some projects where they've said, oh, but this serves the public good because it provides a much-needed service.
Yeah.
So, you know, applicants make whatever arguments.
Well, I wasn't
Serve
talking
their
about the
purpose.
applicants as much as I was talking what the board has tended to do in the past. But, you know, if you want to, and this starts to get more complicated, But if you wanted to say, I mean, I look at all the discussions we recently had about CHAPA and its inability to monitor and advertising, et cetera, and it's like, what do we do? Do we say, to try to be fair to the public good, but also the reality of a project, well, advertise it for a month. If you don't get anyone, who do you let know to do that? But I'm still concerned about the fact that, it isn't a 40B. It isn't a 40B where they're entitled to make 20% on the project, or I guess rental is well, it still is. It isn't, and because of that, the density could have been whatever amount.
Significantly larger.
I mean, that's up to the board to make the decision, but it isn't a 40B. And, I think we're, quite frankly, delusional if we think that we're going to be able to squeak 40B types of things out of people along the way. Just like I think we were misled and somewhat delusional when we thought, when the bylaw changed on accessory apartments, that we'd get on the housing list.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. One unit in the scope of the town's needs and the town's current affordable housing is diddly.
And it creates a lot more work for the applicant in terms of.
I think it creates work and it creates a potential problem, a hardship problem, enforceability,
Well, the enforceability is zero without a condition. I mean, that's for sure. There's nothing.
Yeah.
All of the hand-waving that the applicant made about market affordability is meaningless unless we put something in here that says you must rent at some rate or make it available
All
to
right.
people who qualify in some way.
Then let me move you just a little bit. What you just said was, this board needs to define what market affordable is, not what affordable is. If you're saying they made all of these promises about market affordability, then fine. If you want to define now for this application what market affordability is, then...
Well, I guess that would be the median, 1/3 of the income of the median. It's not defined, but I guess we could define it. Why not?
Who's going to define it, Ken?
This board. But, I mean, I'm not prepared to do that, but
Neither am I.
No.
the board could do it, Scott.
But with what to go off of? We just decide what they should charge?
Well, if I can try to finish.
I mean, we don't know, do you know what, see, on a 40B, we know what it costs to build. We know what, they're afforded protection through 40B. These guys throw their money out to do a project, and I think it's,
But they've said,
May I finish?
they've said it's
May I
not the
finish,
rate.
please?
Yes, you may.
I think it's unfair for us to dictate to them when it's not required, only by, in this case, one person on this board, that they need to have a market affordable unit, when that's not what they proposed.
Wait a second, we're moving away from the affordable unit into the notion of market affordability.
What it means.
Which I think we all can agree was testified to.
Absolutely.
And was stated, okay?
And they have said, they have no issue with the rate, the rental rate. They've said that. They said it tonight.
Okay, so what my recollection, and again, I think your ear is tuned to these things better than mine was that because of the type of units, it will dictate affordability within the market, because it isn't going to be the type of unit that, somebody who otherwise would be living, on Magansett Harbor would do. The size of it, the configuration would sort of dictate that. So I don't think it's, in my opinion, Scott, a question of fairness. It's a question of how do we deal with it? Do we deal with market affordability in terms of that it'll happen, and because of the way the units and the configuration, or do we need to get further into it and say, here's what the rent is? Now, the trouble with here's what the rent is that rent's a moving target.
But it's based on, the current definition of affordable rate is based on 1/3 of 80% of the median income, 30%, right?
No, that's the qualification of the person.
Right, but then the rent, the assumed rental rate is, if I'm correct, Suri, is 30% of that, right? Over the year you would pay.
It's on DHCD's website.
A little bit more complicated, I
And
think.
that, well, in simple terms, that's kind of what it is, 30% of the median income, like if you make.
Of 80% of the median income.
Right.
So if that's affordability, if that criteria defines affordability, I think, look, if you just use the median rather than 80% of the median, half the people make more money, half the people make less. You're right in the middle. That's market affordability.
And again, I don't mean, the difference being though, and again, I think it's appropriate discussion, we'll learn a lot from this, it's deciding rent based on the person's eligibility. That wasn't what was stated. What was stated is the rents will sort of control themselves because of the type of units that are being rented. Sorry.
You know, if you look at what the median income is for one person, one bedroom, I believe it's at 47,000. For a two-bedroom with two people, I believe it's up in the 50,000. If you look at it on that scope versus this project, that might help a little bit. That is the 80%. I believe those figures are.
I actually don't want to talk about percentages.
I
because
said
we-
that.
No, I don't mean
So
that
to help
in any
you
sort
see,
of,
the people that are going to live there have, if you do it affordable, have to make that amount of money to live there.
yeah, we kind of created a new term here when we talked about market affordability. And I had an understanding in my mind, and I thought we all did, as to what that was. They're creating modest units, even the new ones are still modest units, for people to rent. And they're going to get what they can get out of it, because they're business people, and that's what they're here for.
What
They're
the
not really-
market bears.
Yes, exactly. That's the market affordability part. I think to change that now really changes the numbers for them dramatically. It not only does it restrict the amount of money they can make on one of these units, and they're not doing this for the public good entirely. They're business people. Let's let them go out and do their business.
And if they can't rent them, they're naturally going to decrease what they're asking to fill them.
Supply and demand. Very
Exactly.
simple. Yeah.
Or if they lose somebody in the winter, I'm quite sure if they've got to fill that for the winter, they do what they have to do to keep them full. Because if they're not full, they're not making money.
Correct, and it's not like they can afford to have a unit sit empty. You know, they can't. They're going to find out what the market will bear, and they're going to charge that.
So it's really meaningless to say market affordability.
Sure, if they were building, McMansions,
and the
the market
argument
affordability would be somewhere
be-
about $3,000 or $4,000 a month.
Right.
That's the market affordability, but they're not.
That's all?
If
I
they're-
want one
if
of
they're
those.
clustered
So what
together,
they
yeah.
did, so here's the only issue I have,
Close to
is they came back and they did reduce the number of units, but they didn't reduce the size of the buildings. They didn't remove any buildings. They didn't reduce the lot coverage in any meaningful way. So all they did was make the units bigger.
So you want to charge less for a bigger unit.
No.
The reality is, it went from 16 guys
Mm-hmm.
down to 10. There was a substantial reduction in coverage because we went from however many buildings they were
And
down.
septic flow.
Yeah, and the septic kept shrinking because of it too.
Yes,
So, you know, I don't want to open this debate into further than we did. The issue that I think we're all comfortable with, there is an element of public good that has come out of this. It meets the requirements of 240-51A. What we're down to is, do we want, and I thought we had moved off the need for an affordable unit. We moved toward what market affordable was, and what I see us debating right now is, are we ready to define market affordable? Let me just make the comment that I think if we ever suggested to the planning board to go to town meeting to change our bylaw to come up with the term market affordable, we'd be laughed out of the
Well,
town
I
meeting.
agree, it's ludicrous to define.
Right. So I think, you know, all it really meant is that you will get, there is a need for this type of housing that they felt. We, right now, have the ultimate decision whether or not we feel the town needs this. And you know, If the town doesn't need it, they're going to have vacancies, and they're going to be coming back to us for a modification of this special permit.
A question. Public good, does it also count all the vendors that they use, all the people that'll have jobs to work there? That's not in our
It's
consideration?
from a zoning perspective. Okay? And
But
that's
it is
why,
still a fair point to...
And it's a local company doing local work in our town.
well, my feeling is,
And we had a discussion with the selectmen not too long ago about the permitting process, about getting people from out of town doing work in our town because it was unaffordable for our guys to stay in town and do work. So it can't be right on one end and wrong on the
we're
other.
slipping, okay? Because
We're not talking about zoning.
No, we're slipping. We've
getting away from the
already
subject.
agreed to the fact that there is public good coming out of this project. We've already agreed to a positive decision. The only thing that we're challenging right now is, do we come up with market affordable definition or some kind of modification of the conditions to enforce a notion that we may not have the definition of? We've even moved off
Well,
the
that'd be
affordable unit.
pretty hard to define then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I actually disagree with that
Oh, I'm
whole
sorry.
statement, because that's not what I'm hearing from Ken. What I'm hearing from Ken is he wants one of these units to be affordable.
No, we've moved past
I don't
that.
think he has, though. You
Well,
say what he has, but I'm not sure if he has. I know, you're trying to. I just don't want to get stuck in a 3-1 logjam here and deny it.
Well, everybody knows what's happening here.
Yeah.
You know, when the whole thing was presented, one of the arguments the applicant made was that there was a benefit in terms of the provision of housing that would be affordable in some way. And what I'm hearing is that in fact that's not the case. It's going to be whatever the market will bear, and for that size unit, and
For that size unit. I think that's the key to it.
It is.
I think I remember it saying that
And location, you've got to remember.
these
location.
types of
Yeah.
units in a location behind a commercial
Mixed
project, you're not going to get the folks that will rent on Walker Street. That
I'll buy
this is
that.
different, and there's a need for that is being filled. And, you know,
But then I just think we want to take any references to affordable,
Well,
there's
that's
no
right.
effect on the
That's right.
affordable housing.
unaffordable housing.
I'd be happy if G just read that.
Yeah. Because affordable housing is a different term than market affordable.
But
whatever
I
else.
think, when, in the future, when
Yeah.
projects purport to use the term affordable, we should hold their feet to the fire. If they mean it, then they've got to
Well, you know,
include something that is enforceable.
and
And
interestingly,
otherwise,
and interestingly
don't
enough, we
bend my ear
did.
that
We
way.
said, is it affordable? And the answer was no, market affordable. We tried to get an answer to that. We didn't have this kind of discussion.
Okay, so the finding would be there is no, basically there's no impact on affordable housing.
That's right. And there's no condition related to it, so you don't need one. Good? Okay.
And we could do this all night. The Celtics game doesn't start till 8 something, so.
8:30.
Yeah.
So we got
Keep
it.
it up
Yeah.
to.
Well, I don't know if I have the stomach to be the blocker here, because I do think fundamentally it's a decent project. They've certainly made a lot of concessions. I wish they had downsized the buildings a little. I just would believe more that they'd made some sacrifices in that, but
Yeah, I look at it and I still feel, I look at it this way. This board went from basically what amounted to a split vote to a unanimous vote. And I think that's proof of a real good process and decision. And I think every time we make a decision, we learn from it, and certainly this is one of those. I applaud this board, I applaud the people that came to participate, and the applicant for going through a process. And I think ultimately it is, I am completely satisfied in my own mind that this is a good project as this is written, and will do a lot of good for the community. I think there is public good. it may not be the public good that any one of us individually might have wanted in terms of, if it were all, affordable units, you might have a desire for
Well-
that. But I think overall, it meets the definition of public good.
The
It's a good
people who
decision.
live in the area certainly didn't feel that way. I mean, nobody stood up and said they were for this.
Say that again?
We tore down a bar a couple of years ago and put up a Dunkin'
None
Donuts.
of the.
And the neighbors came out and complained. If we had torn down a Dunkin' Donuts and put up a bar, the exact same people would have come out and complained.
And would they be less happy if there was one?
I have heard people come out in favor of projects, on occasion.
Yeah.
Not the abutter.
But people don't like change, you're right. People do
You
not
know,
like change.
And again, I think we developed this skin that says, when people are before us, 50% of them will probably hate what we're doing, 50% of them will probably love what we're doing. But this board ultimately, and it's 5 members, in this case 4 members, takes into consideration all of that ways, and we came up with what is good with everyone's participation. So I think we're ready. So, well, obviously there's one dissenter in the crowd, but is there a motion of action?
I move that we approve the decision as amended tonight.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is a unanimous vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Good luck on the project. All right. The next matter is a continuation
So not folded, right,
of
so.
application 33-12 for Fender. And those sitting out were myself, Dennis, Tricia Fahuli, Ken Foreman, and Scott Zelinski.
I have mine. That's yours.
Yes. And it was continued to this evening. We do have a letter that, from Stephen McKenzie, that represented the applicant, indicating that the planning board has not issued its decision on the site plan review. That hearing was last evening. So there's a request to continue this until June 21st, 2012. We do have a meeting that evening at 5:30 PM, so if the board would like to continue it.
I can't be here. I know I'm a voting member on this.
Mhm.
If we push it to
There
the
were
20...
other members present that.
There are enough? Okay, because
Right.
if there's not, we could push it to the 28th instead of the 21st. and I
Patty
could be here for
Johnson
that.
was there that night. She could.
Right, and Tricia, because we're not taking any testimony, she would be able to as well. So it's me, Tricia, Ken, Scott.
And you're saying Patty is eligible?
And
Or
Patty.
David.
David was
There's a
here.
lot
as
of
well.
stuff
It was
on
a
that
full board
agenda.
that night.
Oh, okay. So I just
Yeah.
didn't want, I wanted to make sure that we had enough numbers.
Yeah. So I'm just making note that there's no testimony.
And the 28th will just be this one.
Sandwiched in.
The 21st would be best because you have not voted to continue a hearing to 28 yet.
Right, no, no, that's what I was, so a motion would be in order for the 21st at 5:30 PM.
I'll make
So
that
moved.
motion. Second,
All right, that's Ken and Scott.
And everybody can be here,
No.
that is here.
except for
Except for
Dennis.
Dennis.
Except for Dennis, right, I know.
All those in favor of continuing to the 21st at
Not me.
5:30, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes, that's right,
Unanimous
the other
vote.
one. He will
Right.
be gone that night.
Okay, Okay, we still have it, though.
No, Patty,
Yeah,
yeah.
you
We still
still
have
have
5.
And Patty said she'd be.
Okay, all right. We, on our agenda this evening, we have the minutes of May 17th.
Sorry.
That's okay. Everyone had a chance to review the minutes. There were some corrections. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the 17th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, the next, thank you very much. Board of Selectmen meeting issues, follow-up, there's still nothing on that. And once again, we have a matter that we weren't aware of before this agenda was posted that is time-sensitive for an administrative approval. So, Sari, if you want to just describe that, and I will
This,
pass up the
has
plan.
been, well, you don't need the plans.
Okay.
All you need is the plot plan.
Okay.
That's all I'm asking. Well, that's all the
This is,
applicant of audio.
this is a question of the
Brought this
decision of something being de minimis, and as
to
you
me.
know, the board had decided some time ago that only we make that decision, so it's,
Do you guys want to see a copy?
sure, Dennis can share with me.
Okay.
The zoning.
You guys can share one.
Right.
This
It can't be done administratively.
is a
Yes.
case,
But not by Sari.
no.
We
I
have-
cannot determine
We have
de
limited
minimis.
to ourselves the determination of de minimis.
This would have been approved previously because they were allowed to go forward through the building department. To the foundation is 24.9, and that's what they were going by, but it actually is 24.7. So you're talking about 3 inches.
It is de
It's either
minimis.
coming before us or
You're talking about 3 inches, guys.
Yeah.
Of course, you can get that in the pour.
And again, we don't say that X number of inches are de minimis, but
No,
we
this
look
will
at
not
each
set a
case by
precedent,
case.
and you need to make your determination that this does not set a precedent. But in your view, it, in this case,
So we're not familiar with this stuff?
it could be de minimis.
Yes.
Just becoming.
Yeah.
It's on spring.
Yeah, particularly knowing that area, there are a lot of houses that are much closer to the street than even this is.
I did look, yes, I'm sorry, and it
Yeah.
is the GIS map there?
No, but you can see the little.
I
ins-
apologize.
You can see
Yeah.
the maybe it is there, I don't know. You can see the inset.
It should be right after the application. No, I'm sorry.
But
We know that area.
the alternative is they come for a special permit over a 3-inch front yard.
I can't see making them do that over 3
I
inches.
I should have, I apologize. I
I
did
know
this at the last minute.
I just asked Dennis about the area, and there are a lot of homes there.
Yes,
Yeah.
there are. There are a lot of homes that are 10 feet off the road there.
Oh, yes, yeah, and they're all densely packed. Yeah,
Right.
3 inches from code is not.
So, but
Does
this,
anyone want to make a motion
I
to
move that we,
determine that the 3 inches in this particular
this will not set a
piece
precedent.
of property is de minimis?
so moved.
Second.
All right, so that's Dennis and Scott.
Did you get
All
that
those in-
motion?
5 voting members on this?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I can-
right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous
Thank
vote.
you.
thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, sorry about that. All right.
Sorry about the last minute.
No, again, and unfortunately, because it already has gone through the building department, it was time sensitive, and we don't meet again till the 21st, so. All right, I think that's it. Anything else to come before the board? All right.
Just, I'm going to send out dates for future hearings that I just did. This isn't on the agenda, but please look at them carefully and let me know. I am going to schedule a hearing date August 9th. Whether we hold it or not, I don't know. But applications are starting to come in, so we're starting to get busy.
There's no end to it.
That's a good thing.
For some of you.
That's right, Dennis, isn't it?
So we have scheduled right now, just in case, the 21st at 5:30, the 28th at 5:30 in case we continue something, July 12th, July 26th, and August
August 9th.
9th.
And then the next one will be the Thursday after Labor Day,
Okay.
because that's 4 weeks in between. And I don't like having people sign a waiver for the 65-day process.
Okay. All right, nothing further to come before. I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you. All right, thank you.